Where there's no water, it's all dead water. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Moda has
40 years.
a little emergency, so Ms. Moda will not be here for a while, so I'd like to start the meeting. Ms. Moda is the chairperson, Ms. Saffa and myself are on the committee, so in Ms. Moda's place, Ms. Saffa and I will run the meeting. So we'll start with Bill 44. Mr. Hamlin, do Bill 44.
Amends the codified ordinances, street utilities, Park and Hamilton Street, Article 951, by revising sale of merchandise by mobile vendors. And basically, it says no mobile food or non-food vendors may then within 250 feet of an event perimeter without written permission from the event organizer. And permitted activities must be organized by a nonprofit organization or directly vetted organization. For-profit events are not permitted to be held in the city park unless they directly benefit an Allentown-based nonprofit organization.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, break that down into layman's terms, okay? Like, if there's an event, go ahead, you go.
Certainly. The first concerning the vendors, we have food trucks that participate in our events, and then we have food trucks that set up a half a block outside of. They don't follow the health department regulations, they don't pay the fee to the city, but they reap the benefits of the crowds from the event. So we want to push them back 250 feet. As it concerns the podium, we have upwards of 15 requests annually for the podium. It takes city staff to deliver the podium. We want to charge for that, recoup some of our costs, and charge a security deposit in the event the podium is damaged. Regarding the Easter egg hunts for a while have not required permits, but they have this year. We've got Easter egg hunt requests that require road closings, entire parks, facilities, our trailer, our mobile stage. They really are growing in size and scope. So we want to kind of rein them in. They would not be required to pay the special event, but they would be required to pay for events, facilities. And the final item concerns an increase in requests that we're getting from for-profit organizations to hold events in the park, or in our parks. Our parks aren't generally for profit-making purposes, but for private organizations. An example would be that I'll refer to as, although it wasn't this year, was Slide the City. And what we did with Slide the City was, they were a for-profit event that sought to, but we worked with them so the proceeds could go to a youth. So that's what we would want for-profit businesses to do, to align with a nonprofit city organization to benefit them.
A certain percentage, maybe?
Yes, we worked with them on
Remember when we brought that slide thing in?
Yes, that's Slide the City,
Some
yes.
Slide City, and some of a percentage went back to
A youth,
the
yes.
youth, if you're finished or not.
Yes, those are the four.
Do you think 250 feet is far enough away?
The research that our staff has done indicates that should work.
250? Okay.
I think it's 250 yards.
Yeah, that's because you're only talking about, 83 yards. Football field, basically.
Close.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Taylor. I'll open it up to my colleagues. Ms. Apple on the committee, but anybody else? Ms. Apple on the committee, but anybody else have questions, concerns, issues, comments? I'm seeing none. Okay, we'll open it up to the public on Bill 44. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
Ms. Apple has a motion to forward Bill 44 favorably. I second that. Two committee members, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So we'll forward it favorably to the entire council in a little while, 2-0.
I just came up with a quick question here while they were voting, but
Go ahead.
will the 250 feet be defined in the person's permit so that we know?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Hamlin, Bill 45.
Bill 45 basically amends the fee section of the code by establishing a $50 fee for the use of the city podium with a $200 refundable deposit, and it waives the special event fee for Easter egg hunts.
We kind of talked about that. Okay, so if they want a city podium, they put down $50 and, okay, $50 for it and $200 for Easter egg hunts. Okay, questions from my colleagues about Bill 45? Seeing none, questions from the public about Bill 45? Do I have a motion? Go ahead.
Two motions favorable to the council.
I will second that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. So the ayes have it, 2-0, move Bill 44 and 45 favorably, the entire council statement. Okay, Ms. Taylor, let's go in, and I want to say name correctly, Mr. Tomachek?
Tomlin.
Say it again?
Tomlin.
Handicap access to fishing. A little background on Mr. Hendricks and I spoke to the gentleman, I would say probably 2 months ago, maybe, yeah, it was like mid-May. It was like easily mid-May.
Well,
Maybe early May.
15 weeks.
Yeah, and then, it didn't get back to you, and then you got something from Ms. Taylor. So, Ms. Taylor, tell us where we're at, where we were, where we're at, and where we're going.
Where we were is there is a bridle trail that is from Lehigh Park to Robin Hood Bridge parking lot. And when it's a trail, it's not a road, it's a trail. We do use it for emergency vehicles, we do use it for maintenance vehicles, fish stocking, etc. When the Lehigh Parkway wall collapsed a couple of years ago, we had to close the parkway. There was a very convoluted entrance in there at the time. It was an awkward way to get in and out of the park. People discovered this bridle trail and were using it to cut through to get into the park via Robin Hood Bridge parking lot. It was further exacerbated. That's how they started to enter the park, to cut the corner to park as well. And last winter, with lights in the parkway, people were using it in the dark because they knew on the shortcut, not only to get into the park, but to cut get around having to pay to get through the lights. They would come through the parking lot and continue on through the lights. Install bollards to close the bridle path to vehicles. The reasons were purposes of safety. It's a very popular trail, and it's a winding trail, and again, it's not a road. So we cut off that bridle path to motor vehicles. Mr. Tomlin used the ability to access fishing with his car on that bridle path. What I'd like to do, and what we were talking about, and what I want to continue to do after, is work with Mr. Tomlin to identify an alternate spot, or spots, or a process to allow access to continue. I'm more than happy to do this and willing to do this. It is over and above the requirements of ADA, but we are, this is what we are, and this is what we do. So we want to make this accessible for permit holders. It would require us to come back to you again to update the ordinance as it defines where motor vehicles are, and to further define the permit process that we'll be using, as it concerns also OPDMDs, which are other segways, different ways that people can travel by wheel into power, wheelchair, segways, carts, etc. So we will be coming forward with that to tighten it up further. Our concern is that we just can't have motor vehicles or allow cars in that may have permits. They're often followed afterwards by cars that claim they forgot their permit and abuse.
We'll go to my colleagues first, and then obviously we want to hear from you, Mr. Tomlin. Colleagues, concerns, issues, questions on Ms. Taylor?
Ms. Taylor, the other option you're giving him is, this is now a street, not, I think the difference here is trails and streets. What did you say?
Well, what we were talking about previously is the bridle path that follows the parkway down to what we call the Steel Bridge down there on Parks Barn. Is where we've also just moved our own fishing event because the water's deeper there and we've found better fishing. That's what started the discussion. But the important point is that our trails are not built for cars, they're not roads, they are trails. They're for walkers, bikers, horseback riders, joggers, strollers, etc.
So this, I'm just confused what's going on now.
I'm sorry?
What you were discussing by the Steel Bridge, is that a...
That's a bridle path. It's a stone bridle path. It's not open to vehicles, but I'm going to
open this to vehicles?
It's not open to vehicles, but we would open it for the permit. Those that have a permit, a special permit, would go through an application process.
So if he has a special permit, he
Correct.
can use his car?
Not right now, but
I mean, and this is what you're working on?
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
I have just a comment. when I was with the, in school district, we would talk to, we have past precedent, okay? And up for many, many years, the gentleman was allowed to do what he's asking to do. Is that right? Drive down and, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so this is the first year, that he wasn't allowed to, the volunteers.
that's correct. And in this stretch,
Yeah.
along this stretch.
Sir, how many years, can you come up here to my, yeah, come on up, because you're gonna just, and I'll go back. How many years, best of your memory, how many years were you able to access what you've been asked,
Me
for
personally,
you? Yeah, you.
me personally, before that,
Well, this way, hold on. So if we have past precedent, and a lot of the arbitrators, when you're doing negotiations, they'll rule on past practice, past precedent. So what changed, I think I'm hearing safety. What changed the process now, 5 years for this gentleman?
good question.
The process was that cars were regularly using the bridle path as a shortcut and as a road, and it is not a road. Park users were entering the park via this bridle path, and it is not a safe practice with the numbers of walkers, joggers, et cetera, even Mr. Tominek on the trail. It was not a safe situation, so we made that change for purposes of safety. The rest of the park remains open. Like I said, we are talking about additional access with the permit program in the park, but this section of the trail will allow vehicles.
So you said that you're working on a process, a resolve to let this gentleman get a permit to go in next year. Fishing's pretty well.
Certain parts.
Certain parts.
She's saying certain parts.
Not where you went before, probably.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll open it up to colleagues, and then we'll go to.
I have a question.
All right, well, let's go to Ms. Alpha, because she started, and we'll go to Ms. Henry.
I want to try to get this straight. Where he was able to park prior to this year, more problems in that area. In other words, you were explaining the fact that during the lights in the parkway, people were using that. When the walk-in, people were using it. So you're finding now, though, they found this place, and now they're using it a lot more than they did 5 years ago. And it's become a lot more unsafe than it was 5 years ago.
Yes, that is our belief, yes.
Okay,
I agree. However, there
Right.
is a resolution here, but she doesn't want to hear it. They put a ballard down at the bottom, King Drive is, then you have that hump bridge. And then you have another steel bridge or concrete bridge there. They stopped from Martin Luther King, around the turn, under the bridge, and all the way up through the park, all up to Bogart, actually above the hatchery where they go. The very bottom at that second bridge up from Martin Luther King, on the opposite side of the creek. Because they want to stop people from coming in the bottom for lights of the parkway and whatever. I don't have a problem with that. You can leave that ballard there. They down there at that bridge, which is the wall side of the creek, where the wall, she said, fell down and they fixed it. That side is still open. When you come into the parkway over Robin Hood Bridge, they put a ballard right there. And that stops me from going the other side of the creek all the way down to that bridge, and it stops me from going that side of the bridge all the way up to the, go either way because of that ballard. Well, if you're truly worried about people sneaking into the parkway and using it from the bottom, put two ballards down there and take the one out at the bridge. Because they can't get through, because they got ballard at the ends.
But it seems like it seems like you're talking about you. What about 200 other people who want to do the same thing?
If they're handicapped, they should.
Possibly 100 cars doing
I
this.
tried to
and
keep
one
this
after
quiet, ma'am. I really did. I tried to make this as quiet and slow and easy so that we don't have 100 people
Oh,
asking
going
for
to.
permission.
It's going to happen.
Well,
I
I asked her a simple question earlier. Some teen years, other people have driven on this for years, handicapped people. For the last year, the tens of thousands of people that visit that parkway and use that parkway, whether they're walking, what they're doing, all those people have the right to do this. I have a right to do it too. I just have to have help. Now, their help is a horse or a bike. My help isn't a horse or a bike, because I can't walk there and I can't run there. I can't ride a bike and I can't ride a horse. However, out of those 10,000 people that have visited, I asked her to tell me she locked out by putting that ballard there, other than a handicapped person. Do you understand that?
No.
There's 10,000 people that go there, put a ballard there, to lock out who? The only people it affects is the handicapped people. Doesn't affect anybody else. Doesn't affect the 5K runners.
Ms. Taylor, when you're looking at some resolve and the permit and all, there'll be obviously guidelines for the permits.
Yeah.
It's not any, you don't necessarily, would one of the guidelines be
They would have,
more
they
specific?
they get a permit from us that identifies the vehicle, the license tag number. It's not something that you can move from car to car. It
Right.
specifically identifies the car. We have Mr. Tominik's license, those that apply. This year, we have one permit application, Mr. Tominik, for access in the parkway.
One is the only guy there.
Or there was one.
One permit. There are others that fish, but we only have one permit application this year.
I just want to try to, if you could clarify exactly where you're speaking of. As I'm entering Robin Hood Bridge from Lehigh Parkway, the main road there, I'd be going over to my right. The road you're speaking of is the trail that goes right alongside the ovens that used to be there then?
Yeah, there is a bollard, the far right corner in the back. There's the bollard there for the trail that goes back.
And that comes out at the
Comes out of that
Humpback Bridge.
trailhead, yes, yeah.
Actually, it's not in for, it's right out at it's right at the beginning of the parking lot now.
Right.
Speaking of to open up for handicapped access would be to the left of the bridge, between Robin Hood and where the city's parks workers.
Correct,
Which is a very long stretch. I would say this, as somebody who has ridden there, to have vehicles using the road that you're speaking of is very dangerous, because you have a lot of turns that are blind turns. And I know on bike, sometimes I've come down there, and even I've got to be careful because of just walkers there. Whereas the other side, it's visible from one end to the other. There's no obstructions whatsoever. It's very wide, so your vehicles parked there, or access for vehicles, would not impede anybody else. And in my
You're
opinion,
talking about a safety issue.
absolutely.
I can control my truck a lot better than anybody can control a horse.
Well, with all due respect, this
Well,
has to
anybody should be
be,
able to control a vehicle better than a horse. A horse has a mind of its own, a vehicle doesn't.
okay, but this has to be not just for you. It has to be for all people who are handicapped and have
I
special.
understand, but I'm saying, a horse has a mind of its own. It can spook and run somebody over and hurt
Sure
somebody.
they can.
My truck's, or somebody else does it.
Well, but
Vehicle
don't have
doesn't, you
to
don't
do
lose
that.
control of your vehicle because of a horse going nuts.
But
They
somebody
do.
on a bicycle, or even a runner coming around the turn there that doesn't see your vehicle, by the time you see each other, it may be too late.
I had a
It's very
woman,
dangerous.
we hadn't had any problem over the last 5 years.
Well, because we haven't really allowed people
Oh,
on.
I've been on it.
Most
I've been on it for the last 5 years.
Okay,
We
you're
haven't had
one
any problem.
person, as you
I wasn't the
said.
only person on it.
Well,
There was other, even though years
Not
ago,
that they
you
were
did
allowed.
track.
We have, but, yes, but not, for whatever reason, this year has been one permit. That's all I can tell you is what we have this year.
okay, I just was trying to clarify where
And
exactly that was.
I don't know a whole lot about fishing, but why isn't that other particular, he said go down and make a left satisfactory for you?
Well,
Why is
she's
that
trying to
spot-
keep you from
why
going
is that
right.
spot?
She's trying to keep you from going right at all.
Mhm.
And the county and the state and the 3 clubs that the city of Allentown have here stock from there down. So if I can't go there, they're stocking fish for everybody else, but I can't.
Good left part.
Everywhere.
No, they only stock certain parts.
That's not true. That's not true. We stock, they're all stocked.
No,
I've seen them stocking there, so I know the area very well.
I spent the last 43 years in that parkway fishing. Each club stocks where they want, how they want, and when they want. And if you recall, when I first came here, I said something about who, because of what's being done. What happens is, let me give you a for instance. Trout Creek. They decide that on Saturday, they're gonna stock from Robin Hood down to the bridge below. And then, after they stock that, they take their 500 fish for the general public and go do a honey hole for themselves. It may be at Bogart's Bridge, it may be at Keck's Bridge, who knows where they're gonna put it. But the general public has the right to go there. I just have to use the vehicle, I'm sorry. I apologize, I can't walk there. That's a problem. I mean, she's trying to cut me out from the opposite side of the bridge, from the steel bridge, past steel bridge. And then, if I'm on this side of the creek where she wants to allow me to go, from the cabin, which is halfway, right? From that cabin, all the way to the steel bridge, there's no parking. I can't park anywhere.
But there would be.
Well, but right now, it's no parking, it's against the law. And from the steel bridge all the way up to Bogart's is all off limits too.
Yeah.
Mr. McLean, comment?
Yeah. Lindsay, from Bogart's Bridge, when you come in the parkway, where you turn to go, not Bogart's Bridge, we're gonna come in from Lehigh Street. Where you come in there, you would turn right to go into Robin Hood.
Correct.
Just past there, the dirt,
Correct.
where people with handicap were allowed to park and fish all the time. Is
Parking
that
on one
still,
side is permitted, yes,
is that still open?
yes.
And you're talking about extending that from where the road is, basically at the water fountain, down the building down there, or the watershed building down there?
Where the paving stops, and then there's a no motor vehicle sign, the bridle path continues on along the creek down to the lot across from the Parks barn. I'm talking about issuing permits for that.
Okay. And that's not sufficient for you?
Well, this is how I look at it. If I'm the general public, like everybody else of us are, all of us, she's cutting out more than half of the parkway.
We're trying to, I think
I
there's
understand.
trying to be some reason here, but there's gotta be give and take on both sides.
I
You're
agree.
saying I want the whole damn parkway, and there's nothing gonna stop me.
What I'm saying to you is, and I've offered this to her, the biggest problem here is that one ballot at Robin Hood. You can leave the other ones there. You can leave them there 8 months out of the year because fishing season ain't year
And that
round.
one ballot would allow you to come into Robin Hood, go
Go
to
right
the back
or left.
corner,
Or
or
left.
that bridle path.
Or
That
left.
brings you out basically where the two parkways meet, which is what we used to call years ago the hairpin turn by the architect building.
If I go right, it would take me down to the thing. I can turn around and go back.
Well, right, and then I agree with Mr. Hendricks, it is blind on that side when you're coming around that one
It's
bend.
pretty open. It
Sir,
really is.
I rode horses down that parkway, don't tell me what's open and what's not open.
And I can see, and we've had no problems.
And I guess my other question is this is that big of an issue that many cars are driving in there that we have to put ballards? I'm not blaming you, but it kind of reminiscent of, I'm having a flash.
No, this was becoming a significant issue. People had discovered it as a way to get into the park.
If you leave it at the end, they can't get in, right?
I'm
What's that?
sorry?
If you leave a ballard at the end, they can't get,
But I
probably
don't
not.
understand why, if fishing, if there's accommodations made for you from the entrance to Robin Hood down to the steel bridge, if you're Street or Oxford Drive, whatever you want to call it, you can come in, there's a parking lot right there too at the bottom of the hill, across from the police academy. Would that be available by special permit for people with handicap?
I've said there are to consider roads, obviously. There are trails that are windy and narrow, and I would not consider as Robin Hood for this permit program. I have said I'm happy all that would meet the criteria that we open and safe and allow Mr. Dominic to access parts of the creek. There are simply going to be parts of the creek with the trails as they are that will not be permits for access to those areas of the park. But there will be some that we will. And I said I want to work with him on that, and I'm willing to work with him on that.
Here's the problem. At Bogart's Bridge, that means if they put fish there, they ain't gonna stay there. It's dead water. The only spot below Bogart's Bridge, the creek takes a hard turn. There's a spot right there, there's a hole. There's another hole down there.
Oh, let's get our direction
Downstream.
straight. You're
Upstream,
talking about
downstream.
going towards the fish hatchery, or you're talking
No.
about after the police academy?
Hatchery is upstream, below, downstream, heading down towards down from the bridge at the turn, that will hold fish. From there, all the way up underneath Bogart's Bridge It will not hold fish at all. So when he's Trout Creek and Lehigh County and these people where they're gonna stay, because they need water, they need pretty decent cold water. But anyway, right there is a spot. Now, once you get down by the third, there's one spot, all the way down to the parking lot that you're telling me from the other side, is dead water. There's, right at that parking lot, there is 1, 2, 3, I guess you have those stones there for the kayakers. That's right side of that parking lot, across from the police academy.
Right.
There's 3 of those. There's 2 of the 3 will hold fish, the other ones won't. From there on, at the steel bridge, there's 1 hole. Below the steel bridge, there's 1 hole on the bend. After it turns right and makes a left, there's another hole right there, and then you're at the cabin.
My question is, and I've never really been a trout fisherman, but so all those hundreds of people that are lined up along those banks and first day of fishing season are just wasting their time.
Pretty much so. I just fish a day. And a lot of those spots are dead, and that's why when you have the contest,
Yeah,
that's why people are hoarded at certain spots.
it sounds like you do too. Let me just try and put an end to this. Ms. Taylor, do we know when we're gonna have a resolution to this, that we're gonna have some sort of plan together, that maybe we could sit down with him and then
I reached out to him today to schedule a meeting, and we'll set something up and get it started. It will, again, the ordinance would make it clean and, you don't want to have happen, but we're ready to meet and start talking to him right now.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Reed.
Just a quick question, sorry. Is there anybody else here that talks about this? Is there anybody else that is doing what you're doing? Because I feel very uncomfortable. I mean, I feel for you, I say, spending all this time trying to do a resolution just for one person.
It's not just for one person.
But I don't see anybody else.
I understand that, sir, and it takes a lot to get people, especially handicapped people. It takes a lot to get around and do things as a handicapped person. Let me tell you something.
I understand that, I understand.
Well, now, you know the last time I took a shower? January 19th of 2008. You know why? Because I can't stand in a shower. You take a shower every day and think nothing of it.
It's probably not all the people that are in your situation, that's my point. But I don't even see that anybody else is complaining
Well,
about it.
but you're saying you don't want them, and she's saying she doesn't want them because there might be 100, but you're saying you don't bring enough people here.
I'm a person.
I understand that. It's not just one person. To try to get people here is...
You have letters or anything. I mean,
You want me to do, I'll get a petition. You want a petition? I haven't talked to one person. Not one person.
I want a resolution for one person.
Okay. Then
And
I
I'd
can
like
say
to help you, I understand that.
Yeah, I need a petition.
Ms. Taylor, go ahead.
The other piece that I left out of this, and Center for Independent Living is a close partner with the city and with the Department of Parks and Recreation, and we have an event in September that we expect over 1,000 people, fully inclusive fishing event that will be held at the Parkway. It just continues to stay out there in the park, and they've offered their services to meet with us and Mr. Tomanek. So I believe we'll come up with a policy that won't be for one person. It will be, that will make sense for the park. Many, if you know the park, it's a very popular park. There's runners, walkers, there's all sorts of users in there, that it will make sense and work for everybody.
I'd rather listen to what she's saying.
I understand what you're saying.
One person, I mean,
Just-
I understand.
This is
that.
illegal. There's a motor in it. It's illegal. I can't even walk there.
Then why you, wait a minute, is this illegal?
I can't walk. According to you, there's a motor.
Why is it illegal over
It
there?
says no motor vehicle. I can't even walk there.
You're stretching it, I think.
Well,
I think what we're looking at here is, you sit down with Ms. Taylor, and you guys, I think we'll come up with a reasonable accommodation here that
We
we can all
can
live
try. I have tried.
Right.
but-
We're not talking about doing some sort of ordinance here, we're talking about reasonable over here.
I have one question. Ms. Taylor, in your estimation, it's a safety issue. We're talking about, someone gets hurt on that hairpin turn, you start your truck up, you don't see them, someone gets hurt or killed. Lawsuit will appear?
Well, anything that could happen with anybody getting injured.
This is
in a
city
park
property, correct?
With a lawsuit, that could happen.
This is city, so what we have to be careful of, you and the safety of everyone.
Absolutely.
And for that reason, we have to look at that very carefully. Someone gets hurt because we allowed one, we're liable then, and this is your job to make sure that that the park is safe.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think Mr. McLean has summarized it very well. Let's, continue, gentlemen, and we'll see if we can come to some compromise on and help everybody.
On what she just said,
Mhm.
isn't the city liable if a horse kills somebody?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. And here goes the police car hits a
Yes,
little
it's
child
not
from
just-
years ago. They're liable
not a
also.
truck.
No, I understand.
Not just that.
Ms. Taylor, you'll be in touch with, okay, since there's no other business.
From the public.
Yeah, come on up. It's discussion, go ahead.
We know, oh, I don't have to do that because the other guy didn't at the other meeting. He didn't give his name or anything.
What was that?
I don't know because he didn't give his name.
Oh, the guy had
No, I'm just saying, everybody wants to make
But
rules
hold
that
on.
rules.
I asked the solicitor, and he said he doesn't have to give his name. That's fair. The
I
solicitor
can't
here.
ask, he's not here.
Hey,
Okay, Tom
we
Vaughn.
know who you are.
I'll
We know who you are.
I'll bow.
And we
I
know-
just want to have you guys discuss how the public and the bicycle riders in Trexler Park worked it out when people were on the same thing. That was another issue. But the main issue that I want to talk about is how did the people find out how to get Eddie who failed to fix the stone wall in appropriate time that allowed them to seek other ways to get into this problem. Now that the wall is fixed and the street is open, it seems to be the city gentlemen, because they weren't doing repairs on the wall, they weren't fixing everything, it became a disaster, and when the people that wanted to use it had to find alternate ways to get into the parkway, and they found the other paths. So the real blame here, the city's fault for neglect on repairing its property in the parkway to avoid what happened now.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know, hold on. I think from handicap, I'm glad you didn't mention competition. I'm glad you got that in, because everything else you're saying is totally irrelevant to what we're talking about, okay? But since you put that helps a lot. So I appreciate that. That helps a lot. I was waiting for the fish part. But, so, we'll go, Mr. McLean, go ahead.
Irregardless of your speech on the wall, it doesn't give somebody the right to illegally drive down the bridle path because that road is closed.
It was mentioned.
And I didn't mention fish, but I should have.
No, I understand, you're fishing for answers. I understand that prior to closing the road, no, this wasn't an issue.
That's not
That's
true.
that's what I'm trying to say. People weren't, and all these other ways to get in and out. That's what I'm trying to.
Mr. Hahn, for many years, lights in the parkway, that's how we came in, and Ms. Taylor can attest to that. And this happened long before she came here. So people knew about that access route for a long time. It really aired and the road closed.
So now it's switching to the lights in the parkway caused this.
You blame it on the roadway being closed for what you claim is a...
Well, no, I'm asking the question, is that,
And the
is
answer
that
is no.
how?
That roadway was used for cars that would come up and decided they weren't going to pay, they didn't want to pay, or they didn't have money, they had to exit that way.
So what you're telling me is the whole world uses the path of least resistance.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else from the public?
I just have a question on what he said.
Who? Him?
Well, that Mr. Hendricks said that they would exit the parkway by using that path?
Yes,
So you've been using that,
in the evening hours, during lights in the park, not during the daytime, not when
you're
people...
using that path as a road, and now you don't want to use it as a road?
The only route out of there at the time.
Just asking,
And I'm
just
just
asking for
saying-
clarity there, so that we know that
And
it's
the
a
parks were
stated
also
fact that.
closed at that time, so there would have been nobody was supposed to be in the park at that. So there would not have been any pedestrians.
I understand, I'm just saying, I mean, half of this problem came up because you said this is not a road, this is a path. However, you've just stated now that it has been used as a road.
Road or path, vehicles drove on it.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, you're going to continue to work on this, and hopefully we can come to resolve that Parks and Rec and city administration can be satisfied with the result. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Quite have a chance to speak. I have so little to offer, but when this comes up again, could you have a map of the area in question that is legible and those who were not born here? Thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. President.
No, that's okay, Dr. McGuire. Okay, now this meeting is adjourned. Contract review and approval.
Thank you.
You're welcome, yeah. We'll be in touch. Okay. That's right. No. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Hendricks, go ahead. Anything to sign down there?
I have
Take your time.
How'd you get it?
Oh, boy.
You didn't process this one? Oh,
I'd just like to make note that Councilman Hendricks is a representative.
Did you hear that? Mr. Hendricks, did you hear that?
Did you hear that?
Mr. McLean has a comment.
I'm glad to see that you're representing the administration tonight.
Okay. 20F. Doesn't matter. We'll be fine. Oh, it's hot in here, yeah. Okay, to order, and it's always good to see Mr. Hartzell, Ms. Stroll, and I see Mr. Burgess at the table tonight. Mr. Hanlon, R-150.
R-150 Services with Lehigh Engineering Associates in the amount of $15,200 to apply and obtain an NPDES permit at the Twins and the Devonshire subdivision. There were 3 bids.
Ms. Stroll?
Yes, sir. As Mr. Henry indicates, and this quote was released by the Department of Public Works.
Mr. Berger, anything to add?
No, I think it's pretty self-aware with some of the Twins of Devonshire. This is part of the NPDES permit we need to complete the public so we can start allowing builders to start them.
Okay, good. Comments from my colleagues? Mr. Hanlon, call vote.
Ms. Appa.
Calling it or you?
No, we're calling this. Yeah. No, we're calling varsity games.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Greedy?
yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Connell?
Yes. R-151.
R-151 is an authorization for a change order with Wyoming Electric and Signal, Inc. in the amount of additional streetlights at the 5th and Kern.
Okay, Ms. Stroll?
Sir, against this contract, it was approved by the change order committee on July 18th. Because it is, the total cost of all changes have exceeded.
Okay. Comments from my colleagues?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mr. McLean.
Well, I see change orders all the time. I keep thinking, what happened here that we have this cost overrun that we have to have a change order?
This change order, it's a very small one for 5,000 some. It happened on the project with the design phase again. There were a couple streetlights at the new Sacred Heart street. They actually put in a couple more streetlight bases than we expected, so we have to put additional lights on. Part of the project was that we do the lights. Another small part of this change order was originally we had an electrical connection on a PP&L pole that moved. So we had to find another area to get an electrical connection for streetlights, which we ended up going up the alley eventually, which will require another junction box and a little bit of additional work. But it's a small amount to complete the project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from my colleagues?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ms. Affleck.
this is one of the new halogen thing, lights?
The new LED pedestrian lights, yes. It's Turner Street from 4th to 7th. It'll be the
I'm saying
new,
it's the new lights.
the new LED pedestrian lights, yes.
These were unanticipated lights. We did not realize that the project was going to include these bases that needed a pole to complete.
They were missed in the design, plus there was an additional one added by Sacred Heart. We only wanted 3 in there, they actually put 4 in. So we didn't argue, we didn't purchase already, so it wasn't, it's just the installation that we have to pay the contractor. for
Okay.
The additional one, so.
Any other comments?
$5,000 just to install it?
It's not all just for the light itself. Donations, it was for to install a street light, to construct, and the junction box, and the work required for that. So it's not just the installed lights. It is broke down by item.
You said that you have the street lights already.
Yes.
The foundation, you
Yes.
did that foundation that, this is, I'm assuming it's one of those, foundational?
It's the new type pedestrian lights that you see like around the arena, PPL Center.
Yeah, but just
We're doing that. Now we're installing 3 additional pedestrian lights each.
1,200?
Yes, to install the light, and that's to wire it and hook everything up.
Well, this is to install all the lights.
No change order. It's 3 additional, but the item number, the item itself is $1,200 to install a street light. Yes.
Okay, make a comment on that, because that area, I saw they were putting trees, new trees, it's looking really, really nice. Is that only on that block that they're gonna do that between Whitney's, or is that continuing anywhere else?
Now, we're putting pedestrian lights from 4th all the way up to 7th Street on that corridor, both sides. That we will be installing the lights. They're finishing up the bases in probably the next week or so, and then they'll start installing the pedestrian lights.
That's gonna be a lot of help, especially between 6 and 7.
Yes. Well, once these are in, you will see a big difference. Drive Chew Street, we just did Chew Street from 4th to 7th, or 5th to 7th, and you'll see a big.
So that's a drug dealing going on there, by the way. But anyway, that's not your problem. That's his problem.
Anybody else from council? Mr. Hunsinger?
Good evening. What was
You're gonna play that same game, huh?
Yeah, fine as well.
No, give your,
Solicitor. Glenn Hunsaker, Allentown.
no, that's not good enough. It's good enough. Just give me your address. Come on, let's be a big boy.
I'm gonna be like,
Let's be-
Tia,
huh?
423.
Who? Who was it?
When Ernie Tia used to give us not Ernie, but
Paul.
Tia used to give us not Ernie, but our
Paul,
Tia friend here.
yeah.
He used to give the hospital down here, 2nd floor. He gave that address. I mean, nobody ever
Okay.
questioned him with that. I mean,
Okay,
do I have to can I tell fake news? I mean, you know where I live, Glenn Hunsaker, South Allentown.
Keep talking, trying to run.
Question. I'm just trying to say, was this change order number 2 in the, it wasn't in the original estimate, or this $5,000 one? I mean, they're just talking about,
Well, go ahead,
Well,
Mr.
yeah.
I think he answered it, but go ahead, Mr.
he
Butler.
answered it, I guess it wasn't in there, he wouldn't be here. The thing is, if you don't approve it, is this work already done?
No, that's why the.
So if you don't approve it, they won't add the 3 lights or whatever it is that correct?
Yes. I was gonna do it, yeah, gonna do it, yeah, you're right.
I wanted to make sure they didn't do the work and now they're coming later. And change order number 1, $92,000, what was that for?
Where's that?
That's right above the $5,000 one.
That was for additional handicap work that was required to install handicap ramps.
Original order, that's what I guess I'm getting at. And the 92,000, what is that, 15% overrun, roughly? The 92.
The problem that happened with the handicap ramps, with the ADA requirements. The original design, just basically what you needed to put in a dome on the corner. When you get into ADA requirements for handicap ramps on the corner, you're required to hold existing sidewalk. What happened, the design didn't take into account the additional sidewalk that was required to get these slopes put in, which required a change order for you.
Who's the architect on this? Did the city do this, or is this outside architect that
No,
they put this in?
this was a private contract.
Private contractor, put him on the list to double check his accuracy on things. But, and who picked this up? Your inspectors?
Yes.
That's a good one. Okay. I mean, I don't know who this guy is that put this bid in. I mean, the company. I think you should look into that.
It's in the,
Okay.
it's in your, you can see it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none? Well, Mr. Hanlon, call a voice vote. R51.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire? Yes. Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Ms. Apple? I have 7 yeas and 1 nay.
R152, Mr. Hanlon.
R152 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with amount of 9800 for assessment, construction plans, and drawing for the back pool.
Ms. Knoll?
This is a quote that was released by the Parks Department. They did obtain 3 quotes and they selected this proposal.
Ms. Taylor, have anything to add?
Or with the transfer of funds to explain the project, it's, we just would like to move forward with it.
My colleagues, council members?
Just the estimate, we believe it's going to be around $100,000.
That's the last estimate that we got, yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to remember. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public? Mr. Hanlon, call a voice vote.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Yes.
I have 6 yeas and 1 nay.
Thank you, sir. R153.
R153 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Williams 60-minute band performance as part of the Lively Lunches end of season concert.
Okay, Ms. Rowe.
Yes, sir. This is a performance and it will occur on September 29th from 7 to 8 p.m.
To my colleagues, council members, comments from the public. Mr. Hanlon, call a vote.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Ms. Apple?
Yes.
Mr. Greedy?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, 6-0. Okay, seeing no further contract review, this meeting is adjourned. We'll start our city council meeting at